We're live. Finally, I got internet back. We're a couple of days late, but we're here. In the middle of the day, too, guys.
Actually,
it's great to be here.
Yeah.
I can't wait till Paul gets on a normal schedule and we'll all be like evening, right? We'll be with all the other podcasts.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Paul, Paul's currently available like you and I are anytime.
Oh, you are?
For the moment.
For the moment.
Well, perfect. Let's roll.
Yeah. Hey, guys, the first thing I just wanted to, it's getting old news by now, and I don't know how much we want to cover it, but I thought maybe you guys would want to hit on the Nebraska loss, what went wrong, and how a team that looked so good against Purdue and Minnesota and Wisconsin just fell apart against Nebraska so fast.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So we stunk, right? I mean, we came out and things were not going well, and it was really unfortunate, But once Petrus kind of got hurt and Padilla came in, it was almost as if we had turned on the Sensi. And things started smelling better. And I felt like the coaches, the play calling things were going really well. And it was almost like my favorite scent of Senti, which is this green apple right here. Now, we did have the link to Terry's Sensi page at the bottom of the screen. I know it'll be in the description and things like that. Guys, ladies, peoples, Hawk fans, there are really amazing deals. There's still time to get your orders in before Christmas. These things, look at this. This is the perfect stocking stuffer. They smell amazing. They're not terribly expensive. It's $5-6. Tell Terry that you heard about her products and the link and stuff from our video. I'm sure she can do some amazing things for you. We all three of us on this video, we all have stuff from Sensi, from Terry. We all love it. We're all continuing to use it. So please take a look at the link, check it out. Contact Terry if you have questions. The stuff is pet friendly. It's natural. So even if your dog or cat decided they were going to take a taste of the old apple here, they won't hurt them any. So it's good. It's safe for babies as well. So we definitely recommend check out Terry's Sensi page. Now back to football.
Okay, Paul, do you want to have a real take now on how we collapsed so fast?
Yeah. So, this was tough. From what I could tell and from what I had kind of heard post game, they kind of, for lack of a better term, outcoached us early in that game. They came out with some pressure packages, did some things that we frankly weren't prepared for. You could tell at times they were bringing pressure from the side where we didn't have a tight end, the corner blitzes, things like that. It looked like maybe there was some lack of communication along the offensive line. It seemed like almost all of the things that had gone bad early in the year all of a sudden came back. And, again, I don't know. I don't really recall that we were doing a lot of the pre-snap motion. That could have been missing Laporta. Plus, we were, again, a little thin on the wide receiver position. So, I don't, but it snowballed quick, 24-0. Credit to the team, though. They kept fighting. If we'd had a little bit more time, and speaking of time, and I'm hoping, Coach, you can talk about this. It felt like toward the end of the game, the clock management, like there wasn't enough sense of urgency. Well, we were and then all of a sudden, we did get the ball back, and there wasn't much time, and we kind of went into a panic mode, and it was just, I don't know. Tell me how to lose a de facto Big Ten West championship game without telling me how to lose a de facto Big Ten West championship game. And it was almost like what could go wrong did at times. So
it's like everything that could go wrong that you thought could never happen went wrong.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. But I will say this, like with Jared, that's not exactly true, Jared. Because Iowa, I'm going to do his comment first, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because Iowa literally was on their 4th and 5th string corner, right? It's not like they lost their starters. They lost their number 2 corner, number 3 corner in the beginning of the year. DeJean's supposed to be playing cash, right? So then when DeJean got hurt, that brought on the 5th, which was true freshman Hall, and he wasn't it, right? So then they brought in Hines, who's a walk-on, who's the 5th string or 6th, however they put it, right?
Right.
Parker's guys, they usually just stay on their side. It wasn't until the second half when Parker made that halftime adjustment to put Moss on number 3. I can't remember his name right now. But
Parker,
so the injury, the problem was the injuries to one position, right? And if Hines would have came in instead of Hall, I guarantee you Parker was mad at himself for that part by not taking Hall out sooner. Because the moment Hall came in, he got burned for the 87-yard touchdown. And then he got burned again for another touchdown, right? But if he would have just brought Hines in after the 87-yarder, who knows? Because Hines only gave up that one slant pass, right? He should have had a couple picks, which tells you he's in position. He was in position. He should have had a couple picks.
By the way, credit to the Nebraska coaches, by the way. I mean, they saw once, DeJean is down, right? And they realized, hey, they've got a freshman, what amounts to, their 5th corner over there. Let's put our best guy on the true freshman, and let's just see how good he is.
Yeah. No, and that was it too, because he ran right by him. And the bad part is Hall's a 4.3 40 guy. He didn't look like it on that play because he wasn't expecting the receiver to just fly right past him. I mean, it was great coaching on Nebraska's part. But as far as the offense, Petrus was terrible. We can blame the O-line. Yeah, the O-line had some brain farts. But a quarterback has to take advantage when he has time. And then we've been saying this all year. I shared videos with everybody, and everybody wants to say, you're just sharing a couple videos. There was more than the videos that I showed. And when you're a Division I quarterback, that rollout pass was perfectly. Everybody executed except Petrus. I don't know if you guys saw that one that I shared. Mm-hmm. There was nobody around him. There was zero excuses. Receiver was right in front of him. We could execute that in the backyard. I mean, that was just terrible. I'm really proud of Padilla. I wish he would have got more play throughout the season, just because in these situations he would have been. I mean, there was games where it wouldn't have mattered if it was Padilla or Petrus, right? Iowa was going to beat Rutgers. Iowa was going to beat – once they were up by a certain amount, Padilla got some reps, right?
Yeah,
that would have everything. As far as the reason he was dropping the snap in the very beginning is because those two aren't used to each other. And Jones – I'm just going to say it. Logan Jones still struggles snapping the ball. He still is a little slow, right? I think it got better, but you could still see he's a little slow on the snap. And if he doesn't get it up there fast enough, Padilla is wanting to back out, right? So he doesn't get stepped on. Like everything has to – it looks simple because we do it from, 3rd grade all the way up. You could see, the youngsters execute it. But when you actually have to reach a block, I mean, it's harder than it looks, even though it's done 100 times, a game. But as far as the timing, or the whole fourth quarter when we weren't trying to hurry up, taking the clock down to 3 seconds, I mean, that boggled my mind. But then you heard at the end of the game when Kirk said, I'm so trying to be nice. So just so you guys know, I'm just talking. I'm just being nice. Because that drove me absolutely bonkers. Because to begin with, the quarterback should be up the line of scrimmage with 15, 20 seconds anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been saying that all year. Petrus actually plays better and is more accurate when he gets up to the line of scrimmage with 20 seconds left on the clock, right? He's so much better in the they don't really do the no huddle, the speed up, whatever you want to call it, the sugar huddle maybe.
Tempo.
I thought it was Temple.
Well, up tempo, but they call the huddle. It's their sugar huddle. There's all kinds of different huddles. They're all up tempo when you're talking about it, but
yeah.
As far as not the regular, but they should have been an up tempo the whole fourth quarter, right? And they weren't. So no, it was just bad all the way around. They should have been running the football. To be honest with you, after they got that fumble recovery, they shouldn't have been throwing the ball. They should have been running the ball. Nebraska could not stop Iowa from running. I know the clock was down to 8 minutes on that fumble, but hell, they might have scored a touchdown on that if they would have just ran the ball. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. I know it's not very articulated because I'm truly trying to be nice.
Yeah.
But
Go ahead. No, finish your thought.
What? I was just going to say, I honestly believe the coaches lost that game, and the injury to DeJean hurt the defense. The defensive coaching didn't really lose it, but the offensive coaching really did.
I want to go back to a point you made too, because we were talking about the injuries. I know Jared had made the point up there about a few injuries and then the team collapsing. For the most part, Iowa was pretty good with injuries this year, right? I mean, outside of Jacobs, I don't know that we really had anybody else that sustained a bad injury. What was unfortunate was all of the injuries seemed to group into position groups, right? Defensive backs and wide receivers early in the year. And, this is the reality of the situation that Iowa is not a program that can go 5 or 6 deep and there not be a huge fall off, right? Yeah. And there might only be a couple of teams in the country where they can go 5 deep at defensive back or 5 deep at wide receiver and it still look competent, still look Division I. I mean, it's just so that. And by the way, I mean, after and I know Nebraska shut it down a little bit. They got up 24 and whatever, but the defense definitely kind of got it together once we stopped turning the ball over, the muff punt, the fumbled snaps. It just, once we got out of our own way.
Yeah. Well, once that muff punt.
I forgot about the muff punt. That muff punt lost the game.
Yeah, the muff punt basically lost the game because that was early in the third quarter. Nebraska took advantage on a short field.
Well,
made it score 24. That's the last time Nebraska did anything the rest of the game.
Yeah, and it was just the slant. Hines gave up the slant, right? Mm-hmm. That was the only play that Hines really gave up. The whole game that he played.
Right.
Hines played pretty well. Without that muff punt, Hines maybe didn't give up the play. Right. And it stays at 17, and we're in overtime.
Yeah.
17.
To our advantage, though, Nebraska did kind of go into a more conservative, not to lose mode after that, and
almost bit him in the ass.
Yeah, and it almost bit him in the ass. If we could adjust, because we could have scored if we'd held on to the punt, or even if we didn't score, the worst we would come out of there was a 7-17 tie going into overtime, and who knows how the game would have come out. Yeah. Despite how bad they play. To me, guys, this is the worst game of the season, even worse than Ohio State, because Ohio State, we kind of semi-expected that mess. But this is the worst because we had we played 4 fantastic great games in a row. Nobody saw this coming, us losing to Nebraska. Nobody saw us losing like we did to Nebraska.
Well, no, they were even favored by double digits.
Right, and we had the Big Ten, West title on the line for the second year in a row, and so we couldn't get. So this to me was the worst loss of the season for you. For me, I don't know if you guys feel like this was the worst loss of the season for you too.
Commissioner Warren was in the house because they were going to present a trophy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it. Then he had to get out of the plane and go to watch the Ohio State and Michigan game.
If there's one thing that's upsetting, it's one team looked like they had a staff that had been together for 24 years, and one team looked like there was an interim head coach.
And I'm just saying.
Okay. All right. Let's move on from Nebraska. Let's put this sorry story behind us. We're 7-5 to collect the season. We're going to go to a bowl game. I got us going to the Music City Bowl. If you guys read my article and the thing I put out there, other people disagree with me, but that's fine. I don't care.
Well, you should.
You guys have any? You guys? I mean, in all honesty, Iowa could go to one of 4 bowls. It just depends on how the bowls pick between Minnesota, Iowa, and Maryland and
Purdue.
No, not Purdue. Maryland and Wisconsin. Those are the last. They're going to get the last 4 bowls if they go in order, but they do not have to go in order if they don't want to.
Right. No, they're going to pick Iowa first because they travel.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I think they go to the Mayo Bowl.
That's where I think I had Minnesota slotted for. So yeah, it could probably flip to the Mayo Bowl and back, whatever. I think the Mayo Bowl is ahead of the Music City this year.
Yeah. No matter what, this was a thought. And I had kind of posted this in our chat that I'd had this. Does this not feel like 2014 right now? Right, going into the bowl game, the fans. This is the last time we lost to Nebraska. And this was when their AD was saying even after they won that we have to evaluate where we are as a program, where Iowa is as a program. They come here. Iowa comes here to the Gator Bowl. There wasn't a great fan showing. There wasn't. There really wasn't any hype or anything around the bowl trip at all. Iowa got smoked in the bowl game by a good, good Tennessee. But then the next year they come back and light the world on fire, right? And we're a play away from the college football playoffs. I kind of feel like we've got a similar setup going here. We've got the disappointing loss to Nebraska to end the season. Probably, I don't have a lot of high hopes no matter who we play in the bowl game. This feels like this could be a little disjointed. There's going to be a lot of moving parts. We've already seen, Padilla's in the transfer portal. Do we even really know at this point who's going to be under center? That's the most intriguing part of the bowl game, right? Who's going to play center or who's going to play quarterback? How many of these guys at this point, since we're not playing in the Big Ten championship game, are going to sit out the Duke's Mayo Bowl or whatever it's going to be? I agree, Jared, and then, obviously losing to Iowa State and Nebraska and Illinois for that matter, that was another streak that ended this season. I'm just saying this kind of
similarities. If I could jump in just for a second, the similarities to 2014 is huge. I actually thought about this too, because next year the schedule is so soft that Iowa could have another 12-0 season. If we really get Cade, right? In my opinion, and LaBoss could be the dude. I think we find out in the bowl game how much better he really is. He could be the guy. I've been hearing he's been doing great things. But Cade, obviously, with experience. is going to do that, in my opinion, will do that much more, right?
Mhm.
And he's a 65%, I believe, completion percentage in a run first offense, right? So it's not like he's throwing a bunch of bubble screens and all that to get to 65%. He's actually throwing the ball. So the reason Michigan don't want him is because he doesn't run the ball very well, right?
Mhm.
I think he runs a 4.9 40, something like that, 4.8. Where their guy JJ runs a 4.3, right? 4.4.
Right.
So that's the only reason why Michigan don't have him started. He's actually the perfect fit for Iowa. He's going to roll out just like you saw with Petrus, and he's going to complete that pass. I mean, that's what he's seeing on tape right now. He's seeing all that stuff. All those plays, they're watching film to see that Iowa's offense really isn't that bad.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They have to get the line fixed so they don't have brain farts. But a lot of that also is on Padilla. All these people blaming Jack Plum just angered me to the fullest.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for a lot of other coaches on Twitter that put people in their place because it was slide protection, so it made Jack look silly. Should he have known because isn't he a junior or senior?
He's a senior.
Okay. He should have known that, wait a minute, this ain't right? Because the rusher was here.
Mhm.
Like the announcer said, what are you doing, right? Because he didn't know at the very time. None of us really knew at the time without going back and watching it.
Mhm.
They were in slide left, so the whole line turned to the left. Padilla should have switched that by the lineman. However, that's why you get your offense to the line of scrimmage with 15 to 20 seconds. So that way you can look at that stuff. You can audible to that stuff. It really drove me crazy, seeing the hate that Jack got when all he did was do what he was told, right?
Mhm.
If he would have took that rusher on the outside and they blitzed the linebacker through his hole, he would have got yelled at for that, right? Because they were sliding. That was what the whole line was doing. That was the pass protection called that Padilla needed to call off if it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, I was
The quarterbacks have to do,
yeah,
but I think Cade would fix.
yeah. The that whole thing with Jack Plum, I was gonna say that, on surface it looks like he's at fault, but they were saying that it was really the quarterback or on that one play, the quarterback or the running back, Caleb. One of them was supposed
The other one was on the running back. Yep.
Yeah. And so
it's not the offensive line total. The offensive line was more than serviceable. Think about Caleb's yards per carry. How did he average 5.4 yards per carry if they weren't blocking for him?
Right.
I mean, that tells you right there. They're run blocking. He had almost 800 yards, averages 5.4 yards a carry, and he didn't even play most of
he didn't play a lot early on.
He didn't play a lot for the first 4 games, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So to blame everything on the O-line is just, I hate to say it because people hate this word, but is ignorant and silly.
Yeah. What do you guys? Okay, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about changes in the future for Iowa. What do you see for running back? I mean, we got Caleb, we got LaShawn coming back, and Gavin coming back. Do we use Gavin in a different way next year, or do we hope that he's gotten better and improved a little bit?
Let's wait and see if he transfers. I don't think there's a spot for him next year. I think Hawkeyes, that's his name, right? Patterson? Hawkeyes? Patterson?
Yeah.
I think. What is
Patterson's going to
It's like Jesuan.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Paul's guy. I'm just going to call him Paul's guy. I think Paul's guy is going to pass him on the depth chart for good reason.
Mm-hmm.
Gavin, if he comes back next year, maybe he stays on kickoff return team, right? Which I think is a mistake. To me, he seems afraid. Like, even when the hole is wide open, it was against Wisconsin. He had a 19-yard run. The hole was wide open. He still stopped in the hole to look, right? And there was no one there. And then when he was about to get tackled 19 yards downfield, he slowed way down and just kind of was trying to absorb the hit, like he was trying not to get hurt.
Right. Yeah, you can't. you have to be fearless like Charlie used to be on those punt and kickoff returns. You got to be fearless, and that's one thing I always liked about Charlie is he was fearless. He didn't care. His goal was to score every time he touched that ball.
And they didn't let him at Purdue.
Right.
I wish Tracy would have stayed because Tracy would be a good return man as well. Mm-hmm. But Tracy would have been good all the way around this year, right, with all the injuries.
Right. Hindsight. He would have probably got double the amount of work he got at Purdue this year.
Oh yeah, I mean he didn't.
I don't even know much.
He didn't.
But anyway,
he didn't even touch his freshman year numbers.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And his freshman year at Iowa, he had 36 catches and a bunch of runs. And that's why we thought his sophomore year he would be like he's the guy. They even took him to Indianapolis at the meetings, didn't they? Because he was going to be the guy. But that tells you that's the quarterback. If Nate Stanley came back, he would have been the guy. Right. Petras was just in love with tight ends. And everybody blames Brian. He doesn't – when he calls plays, you don't always go to your primary. Mm-hmm. The tight end isn't always the primary.
Right.
So
obviously his two favorite targets
are the tight ends.
Well, just the one tight end. I mean, he used the other tight end, but I wanted to say the other wide receiver, Rahagini. Rahagini, did I say that right? I mean, those two racked up the most catches the last 2 years, right?
He did have 26 catches, and he missed 3 games, I think. So
yeah,
or 27. So
one thing that's disappointing too, because we were talking. I hate to go back, but we were talking about the offensive line and the pressures. And we were talking, about whose responsibilities it is. If you've got a guy who started for 3 years, he's supposed to be able to read a defensive alignment, and get guys in the right position. Or, hey, you look and you say, okay, we're set for this. We're that's going to leave this guy unblocked. That's what, go back to the Purdue game, right? We had the hot read, and that's how he hits the touchdown to Rahagini. Is on that hot read. Purdue's coming with the pressure. We threw it right in where the pressure came from, and so it's really disappointing that this is. I don't know how that happens. That. You have a quarterback who's a 3-year starter. When people say he didn't improve over his 3 years, I think that's the kind of thing they're talking about.
Well, it's more than that. I don't think all the work he did with Rasiopi, like I gave him all the credit. He is such a hard worker, which is why I think he's going to be a good coach. Like I mean, I really do. I would let him coach my boys, right, to play quarterback. I think he knows what he's supposed to do. But mentally, he just can't do it, right? Because he put a lot of work in to get better. But when the shots are fired, he gets all, So, and he has his moments, right, where he's on fire. And I think that has a lot to do with Brian's play calling as far as his primary receiver is open, right? That's what I think. When he's on fire, it's when he can throw to his primary. He knows right where it's going before he says hike or hit, whatever they use. And that's, to me, is why all of a sudden he looks good.
Coach, if the quarterback gets to the line of scrimmage and he's looking at the defensive alignment, the center's calling out the protection. Hey, we're slide left. Maybe their term for that is Louie. So they're letting the protection know we're sliding left. And then he looks, he says, crap, there's going to be an unblocked guy here. Call a timeout. If you don't have time to audible or whatever, hey, this play's doomed from the start, right? I'm about to get killed.
I mean, yeah, you can do that. But there's also a word that cancels what you're saying, right?
Right.
That cancels the protection because the quarterback will see what Jack Plum probably should have saw, he would have got yelled at either way, right? Unless it was a big play. Then they would have been like, good job seeing that.
Well,
right?
is it Logan Jones's job to see that as the guy making the line calls? He's got to, the quarterback, he's identifying the mic, right? And if you see the shift, if you see they're overloading a side, well, then did we identify the mic wrong maybe on that?
Logan's not going to see that.
Right, but is Spencer. Did Spencer maybe identify the wrong? Did we have the numbers off? There has to be.
The numbers were way off on that. It was Padilla. Just wanted to clarify. This play with Jack Plum was Padilla.
Okay.
And Padilla should have literally saw it from the time he got up to the line of scrimmage. He didn't even look, right? Because he was looking left the whole time. He didn't even look to the right side of the field before he said hike. The right side. So that's why he didn't even see him coming. Like, he didn't see him.
Right.
So he had no clue. That guy that was rushing was actually rushing. And he knew what the protection was. He's got to – because Logan's not going to see all the way out there what the offensive tackles should be blocking, right? He makes the calls, all this stuff, tells them, all right, he makes their calls, but he's not going to see the outside blitz where he's at.
Then that's a lack of game reps is what that is. Is what that is.
Well, I mean, but he still should know. I mean, that's the simple part of playing quarterback because you learn that in high school. And if you're in Texas, you learn that in junior high. Right. So to me, those are just weird mistakes by a quarterback. To not know when somebody's going to be free. A lot of times the quarterback may not see the middle of the field accurately, right? But that's Logan Jones. He sees all this. So there's some times where the quarterback just won't see a linebacker come flying up the middle, because he sees all this. But he does. I mean, they don't even see. I mean, it's hard for me to explain because it's the weirdest thing ever for a quarterback to not see an outside rusher, to know that dude is going to kill me. But they don't. It's weird. The play action pass to Caleb where he missed his block. I understand that possibly, I don't remember which quarterback it was, but I kind of understand that one because the running back should have got straight out there. Like after he took the fake, he should have known, I got to get this guy, right? The quarterback is thinking, okay, I'm going to play action and we're going to throw the ball. But Caleb he's freshman, right? That's why freshman running backs don't play. They come in, they run the ball, but they have to learn pass protection. That's the hardest part for a running back.
Yep. Okay. So let's just talk real quick about the bowl game.
Same here, Jared. I'm with you 100. I've been calling for it all year, Jared.
Yeah, so I think your agreement that you expect to see Levis as the number one quarterback in the bowl game? QB1?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah,
I predicted that too. We'll see if it comes true.
He will be.
It's either that or Cooper DeJean's running the option. Those are our choices.
You know what? I don't think our guys know how to run the option.
Spencer will be QB2, and May will be QB3.
Oh.
So you're saying that Spencer will still be a part of the bowl game?
I'm thinking so. That's what I'm hearing. Like, it'll be after the bowl game when he's either retires from football or he doesn't go in the portal and he's going to end up being a free agent.
Had his elbow, hurt his funny bone.
Yeah.
Is it really injured? Is it really injured?
I don't want to say. I've heard so many different things, and I'm not there to know what's real.
Guys, I want to say something that I noticed on TV Saturday. Now, I'm watching it with a little cell phone, too, but I still noticed it. After he comes off injured, he's going like that, pretend, whether he's in pain or not. Kind of his pain. You can see him talking to the coaches. But now get this. When he's on the sideline, sending signals in for Padilla, his hands are all over the place.
Everybody
What
saw
happened?
that.
Yeah,
And I think
everybody saw that.
the coaches see that, and the coaches ask, "Oh, hey, you must be ready to go in." No, I'm not going in. I'm shutting it down the rest of the game.
Next thing you know, his arm was in a sling.
Yep.
Was it this way later?
Saw it. The players saw it. Everybody saw it. But we shouldn't talk about that though. I've heard
Let's talk about something good. Jared brought up. I forgot about this. We had the defensive player of the year, and we had 6 players on the all defensive team. How about that?
That would be bad karma to talk about that.
It would be?
Yeah.
All right.
To talk about Petrus.
Yeah.
Do we have to talk about him anymore? He's almost gone. He's almost done.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about it.
Okay.
By the way, congrats to the Iowa fans. Great job. Whatever, pat on the back. I heard that his senior day celebration, that the Iowa fans gave him a very warm, happy send-off during the senior day ceremonies. So good job, Iowa fans, of doing the right thing in that situation.
Many people were afraid there were going to be a chorus of boos.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick prediction. Any predictions you have for anybody who Iowa might join the transfer portal along with Padilla?
Volk.
Volk, yeah. There's going to be some backups, like Volk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Volk was never going to play in the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to transfer to Miami of Ohio, right?
Northern Iowa.
You know, that's you're going to see some of those guys who want to play with this free transfer portal. I mean, that to me, that's a smart thing to do because you only get to play for so long. And if you're not talented enough, like you thought you were, or the coaches thought you were in the beginning, to go to a Big Ten school, then, I mean, I agree. Just go because you're not going to play. It's either education or go play for football, right? Mm-hmm. But the only one that I see besides Petrus is Bruce. That's just a prediction. Mm-hmm. No facts. It's a prediction. It's an opinion. Mm-hmm. Have I heard some things? Yes, but nothing concrete. I heard it's Kansas State. So that's just a prediction and it's opinion. Don't run with it and say I said so. It's just a prediction. I'm asked about a prediction. That's a prediction.
And you know what? I think there's definitely a real possibility of one of the Williamses, Gavin, perhaps. Maybe thinking about, hey, I could go be the feature back at Northern Illinois or something along those lines versus, being a, part of that situation.
I can see LaShawn doing that. Gavin, because he's a hometown kid. He's a Proctor kid. He's an ex kid, right? They're best friends.
Oh, okay.
So, but Gavin's going to have to do something. He's got to have a huge offseason. He's not going to beat out Caleb, but what he can do is be the primary receiver running back, right? He's going to have a quarterback next year that can get him the ball, that will probably throw him the ball because he was wide open in that 5 wide they would do. He would be wide open in the middle of the field, but we would throw it to Laporta or somebody.
Yeah, but he also has to look at the ball coming because he didn't look a couple times.
Well, no, that was – yes. I mean, that's because the play wasn't designed to go to him, and he was doing the high school thing where you don't try if it's not coming, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when he's out there in the 5 wide, he runs his routes, and he's usually open. Like a lot of times they didn't even cover him, but Petrus can't see, right? All he sees is certain receivers on certain plays. So I think Gavin could make his role bigger by being the receiving back because he's got hands.
I do think Iowa has, a sales pitch to keep like Arlen Bruce around. Hopefully you get Keegan Johnson back, right? Which makes the receivers better. Getting them, kind of a duo back together with Bruce where he's not, the defense's only real worry on the outside. Keegan is more of the primary worry. You've got a quarterback that you hope And again, this is kind of their sales pitch right now. Hey, stay calm. Don't do anything rash at the moment because we're working on some things, right? We're trying to bring in, and if we do, if we are able to get Cade or maybe we're looking at Brett, what's his name? I should know that his brother played at Missouri, Jaguar quarterback, Brett Gabbert, I believe is in the portal right now.
Oh, yeah. He would be an upgrade from what we had this year.
Right.
I don't know if he's an upgrade over LaBoss. Because LaBoss hasn't – I'm hearing good things about LaBoss, so I do not want to poo-poo on LaBoss. But Gabbert, he's injury-prone too.
I got you.
So,
Okay.
But, yeah, I agree. He would have been an upgrade this year by a mile. So,
all right.
long
story short, I'm hopefully in Iowa as a program, especially you look around, guys entering the portal left, right, and center. Look what's going on at like Texas A&M. They've got about 15 guys that have gone in the portal already. So Iowa usually does a pretty good job of, again, we've talked about this, I think, even on our show before, because the majority of our roster is home state Iowa guys. They're playing for the name on the front of the jersey as much as the name on the back of the jersey. And, which is why, after the Ohio State game, right, we're able to come back and win 4 straight and hold the culture together. It's,
No, I agree.
A bunch of guys on that team that, they came out of the womb, ready to play Hawkeye football.
Which is why Iowa doesn't have many transfers.
Right.
I love how everybody goes straight to Charlie Jones because it worked one time. But no one likes to bring up Tracy, even though he transferred, but it didn't work for him, right?
Yeah.
That's proof it's not going to work for everybody. Yeah. So you're gambling regardless.
Kirk Ferentz.
I guess Bruce is from Kansas. I didn't know that. I thought.
Yes, he is. Yes.
Yeah. So
he only played at Ankeny because of COVID, wouldn't play football.
Yeah. See, and I had no clue until I found out about this situation about K-State. Mm-hmm. And no, I'm not saying K-State is tampering. I'm just saying Bruce has been talking out loud to people about him fitting that style, right? He would be a good fit for K-State style.
He'd be a good fit for our style if somebody would just throw him the ball when he's wide open. Okay.
I can't argue that. We saw him. We should have had 15 catches in the first 2 games.
Yeah. Let's move on. I want to move on to basketball and put football behind us.
All right.
I want to talk about the game last night. I'm sure you guys both watched.
Yeah, I caught a few minutes of it.
Yeah. Chris bounces back after I was kind of mean about him was he the fake ID of college football after his terrible tournament. And so he bounces back, proves me wrong with 31 points and 20 rebounds last night. And he did it so quietly, you don't even realize he was doing it.
So let me get this straight. You're the one that angered his dad. His dad went off on Twitter.
What did he say? What did he say?
About Iowa fans going at Chris like he's not a good player. Like, literally, the NBA knows how good of a player he is. Mm-hmm. He would have been drafted this year just because he struggled once, but Iowa fans were attacking him like evidently you were.
Okay, first of all, I didn't write that to where he could read it. He'd have had to watch my video. And if he watched my video, then he heard me say it. Huh?
He might have. But Chris did what, his dad knew he could do. We all knew he could do. Mm-hmm. He's not going to struggle he's going to have games because I'm going to say this, and no, I'm not a basketball guy, but I'm a physical guy. I don't think you want to wrestle. But, well, you can now. But anyway, if you're physical with Chris, you're going to beat him. That's the difference between Chris and Keegan. Keegan was an animal. right? Mentally, I'm talking all mental. Remember that dunk Keegan had where he dunked over 2 guys? Was that in the tournament or was that in the Big Ten? It was in the Big Ten tournament,
Big
right?
Ten tournament, yeah.
Maybe against Rutgers or something, where he dunked over 2 guys, literally went in the lane, and everybody went crazy. Chris isn't going to do that.
No,
That's to me. That's the only difference is Chris is a finesse, where Keegan is just a monster.
Right. And it's, okay, so talking about last night's game, we start with a different starting 5 last night. I believe Ulis at the 1 and Perkins at the 2, if I'm not mistaken. And
Perkins went back to his normal spot.
Yeah, and of course Stanford came off the bench. Do you guys like that lineup, or would you like to see a different change?
No, that was what I wanted. That's what I've been wanting. That lineup is so fast. My favorite lineup is taking Patrick out and putting the freshman
Bowen.
You know, then you move.
That guy is a superstar in the making.
Oh yeah. Then you move Perkins to the 3, and they were so fast when they did that against TCU. That was the lineup that was working, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's because they were so fast. Where TCU being so physical, that was. I mean, you're going to beat Iowa. And it appears you're going to beat Iowa men and women if you're just physical, right? It's really sad to see because Fran he's a run guy. But he needs some ballers too. Like he really needs players that get angry during a game. And it kind of appears Rebraka is one of those. Like he's really doing great. But Chris is a finesse guy. You know, he's not going to go dunk over you. He's going to shoot a 3. Perkins is that guy. He's a dog, right?
All right.
But that's how, and it appears that freshman, God, he just said his name. I already forgot.
Bowen.
But
Bowen.
he appears to be a dog as well. He is not afraid to attack the hole.
I know. I love the way he gets in there and attacks, and he comes up with these moves like, how the heck did he come up with that? And, you know, it's just like, I'm not used to seeing an Iowa player move like that, you know? And even Perkins has gotten some moves lately, and Ulis too. You know, all 3 of them are getting to the rim.
I feel like outside of Chris Murray, which is the expected, the story of Iowa basketball now is who is this Connor McCaffrey, right? Because like all of a sudden he can shoot the ball. Like, where did this come from? He's no longer just the best passer in the Big Ten. Now he can pass and shoot.
Yeah, you can't play off of him now, right?
Yeah. I mean, do you remember what teams were doing? They were sagging off of him so bad. I mean, they were begging. It was like, dude, basket, go ahead. We won't even play defense, like, at all.
Right. But this is high school Connor McCaffrey. Right. This is healthy Connor McCaffrey. You would have seen him in high school, you would know he's capable, right? It's because he's not playing baseball. He's not nursing any injuries. He focused 100% on basketball this offseason, right? So this is Connor. Like this is, and with him playing the 4, and then they moved Chris to the 5 when they took Rebraka out, and then they had the Perkins, Ulis, and Bowen.
Bowen?
Not Patrick, it was Bowen.
Right.
That lineup with Connor telling everybody what to do on defense, right? Did you see him? He's out there just like pointing at everybody. I mean, that was fire and so fast. It was amazing.
I believe they're definitely a better. Go ahead.
If we had this Connor McCaffrey in 2020, when we had Luka and we had Keegan, that's an Elite 8 Final Four team because it made things so much harder offensively for guys who were great offensive players. That doesn't matter how good of a passer Connor is because his defender was, they were doubling and tripling Luka because there was zero fear of what Connor was going to do. Man, his baseball career might have cost Iowa an Elite Eight or a Final Four.
Well, they didn't have a tournament that year though.
Okay, maybe it was the next year then.
2021 last year.
21.
Yeah, if you were shooting the ball this well last year, which it shocked me, he still hit 30% of his threes, but it did not feel like that.
Right.
He said last night he hit 22 of 60, I think they said last night, or 50 some. I had no clue that it was that good.
That's just because he doesn't take a ton of them. That's why. And so it looks worse.
And now I think he's 8 of 14. I think that's what he is right now. Isn't that's crazy.
Right.
Well, it wasn't just how few he was. It was how defenses were begging him, like, hey, please shoot the ball. Like, there's 5 of you out here. You're the one we will do anything to let you shoot this basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we don't want you to do is pass it off to Keegan, pass it off to Luka, or even pass it over to Bohannon. Please, by all means, Connor, shoot the ball.
Yeah.
Now the teams can't do that.
It's amazing.
Okay.
And as long as you can handle, which is going to say in tournament time, we got to get to Jared's question, but in tournament time, it's still going to be about matchups.
Yeah.
If they go up against a team that's just going to play bully ball, they're going to lose. They're not going to make it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, if they go up against a TCU or Iowa State type of team.
But if they go up against teams that play finesse like they do, they're going to be extremely good. I mean, this is a Sweet 16 team if they get the right matchups. Right. No,
we just been getting bad matchups lately, unless we stab ourselves. But let's answer Jared's question.
Paul had something.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say too, depending on how the game is called, right? I mean, if the refs are going to allow physical play, clutching, grabbing, banging, that kind of thing, if the refs are going to let them play, then that goes against what we want to do. If the refs are going to call those freedom of movement penalties and the clutching and the physical play, and they're calling fouls, then Iowa has a good chance to win those games.
I mean, I agree with that, but in the tournament, it just seems that they don't do that because they don't want to be. They don't want to be. They don't want to be the reason. Not me.
Not me.
Jeez.
But I can hear it.
I can hear it, but it's not.
I can hear it.
I mean, my phone's on vibrate, and I'm not. I mean, I'm getting messages, but it's on vibrate.
It's something in my ear, so it's not on the outside source.
Are you hearing it, Paul?
I'm hearing it. Is somebody getting like IMs on their computer or something?
That's what I was just looking to see if I was. I'm not.
I don't have anything signed in on this, so.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
well, listen. Our next game is against Duke. What do you guys think? What are our chances against Duke? I know they're young. They're talented. They're young.
Yeah, I think I was going to beat them. I mean, they're all freshmen. And I watched them play, I want to say Purdue. I want to say there's another team. They should have lost to Wisconsin, I think. I think it was Wisconsin Duke. It was one of those where they beat Wisconsin on the last play of the game. Maybe that was Gonzaga. I can't remember, but Duke. I watched 2 Duke games, and one of them they got extremely lucky to win, and Purdue just beat them to death. I mean, they're they're very athletic, but I don't think they're that good.
How many losses do they have right now? 1?
I think 1, but they got lucky on 1.
Well, they lost to Purdue. Purdue beat them.
They got spanked by Purdue. But I think Iowa's going to win that game because they're not physical at all.
So
they play white boy ball. That's what Jalen Rose used to say about Duke. When he was at Michigan, they play white boy ball, and that's what they do now.
So my thing is, we've as good as Iowa can be at times, we so rely on Chris Murray. Right, go back to last night's game, and he had 30 of the 70 points. At one point it was really, really disproportionate. It was, Keegan, I think in the first half, Keegan had like, I don't know, 16, and the rest of the team had like 11 or whatever the case was. I think you're just playing with fire anytime you're that reliant on one guy, and that one guy isn't like Luka Garza, right? Where you're feeding him the post, and he's getting points off of easy buckets or that. Keegan kind of has to, or Chris has to kind of manufacture his points sometimes.
Well, yeah, the one thing that I've noticed is something that Keegan did, and I don't want to compare the two, is Keegan, like you said, Keegan wasn't afraid to roughhouse it with somebody, be physical, and go in, and he would draw the foul. Chris seems to be more afraid of mixing it up with somebody going in to draw the foul.
He avoids getting fouled for the most part.
Right.
He avoids contact. Right.
Which, by the way, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because do we really want Chris in there banging around, getting banged around a bunch? It's a long season. We haven't even started playing these Big Ten teams yet.
That's
coming. It's coming.
Duke does have 2 losses, and the game that I was talking about is Xavier.
Okay.
They struggle with Xavier. They struggle with Jack Nungy and company.
Okay.
But they lost to Kansas and Purdue.
Yeah, and they also got a new coach this year, so
yeah.
Okay, so we got that one out of the way for you, Jared. I didn't really know much if we could or not, so I'll just jump on board and say we beat them.
I mean, they can. In my opinion, they can.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Last question. We should probably Iowa State dual meet coming up. This might be the first chance that Iowa State has had a long time in beating Iowa and a long time in a dual meet. Will we see Spencer leave for the first time in a match this big? Or not?
Yeah, you got the wrong guy for this question. I have zero contact with anybody in the wrestling program. And I don't really follow wrestling as much, but I don't know why they're keeping him out to begin with. Is he still recovering from his knee? His knees, both knees?
We don't know. They're not saying. We don't know. We're not. Yeah. They're not saying.
So, I mean, I really don't know much about wrestling, and I don't like to pretend like I know things I don't know. So, I'm really not sure about this.
This is going to be one of these dual meets that you're gonna wish you were there, right?
Right.
Carver is going to be absolutely packed. It's going to be loud. It's going to be nuts. The Brands boys are going to be they're going to be doing their thing, right? Yelling, screaming, pointing, stomping. The brick, the challenge brick's going to be flying. I'm excited.
Televised nationally, I believe, right?
I think it's on Big Ten Network.
I want to jump in and say this, that my niece is a huge wrestler here in Iowa. She's excited because they're doing women's wrestling, and she wants to wrestle for Iowa. That's her goal. Yeah, I get to go to her meet on Monday. I'm pretty excited.
I'm excited to see women wrestling, and that they're wrestling women now, and there's just not a woman on a boys team, sneaking in now, because some of the boys are. I still remember when early on, several years ago, a guy who was seated number 1 in his weight class refused to wrestle a girl in the bracket, and so he basically did not get his number 1 seed. I don't know what he ended up with.
He got his number 1 seed. He just took a bye or whatever that is, because it's double elimination. He took the bye.
He took a forfeit on it.
Thank you. That's what I meant.
Did he still wrestle back and get number 1?
I'm not sure if he got number 1, but he did wrestle back. He just took his forfeit, or took the forfeit against the girl. I know the story you're talking about, which I agreed with it. I agreed with this.
I don't think you can wrestle back to win. You can only wrestle back to finish 3rd.
Is that what it is?
Okay. I mean, that might have been what he did, right?
Yeah, because once you lose, you go to the consolation bracket, and the best you can do is finish 3rd. I was a wrestling official, so.
It's not really a loser's bracket like baseball.
Right.
It's a consolation bracket. Okay.
Correct. Or a 3rd place bracket, you'd call it,
right.
The consolation bracket, yeah.
And that's probably what he did. I just know that he did wrestle again because it was a big deal that he forfeited against a girl, but then he wrestled all the dudes. Whether he made it to third, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Okay, so anyway, my whole point is I'm glad to see that women's wrestling is coming around, girls wrestling is coming around, and that there's enough interest in it that they can have their own teams and wrestle against other teams like that. You know,
I just want to know where they're getting the mud from.
Yeah, but I know that last year I had a grandson and a granddaughter both wrestling, and of course my grandson was in the class where he would wrestle the girls, and he would get beat by them, unfortunately. But his sister went into an all girls class. She would not wrestle in a mix because she did not want to wrestle boys, and so
it would be weird. I wouldn't be able to wrestle girls. If I was in high school, there's no way in heck I would have been able to wrestle girls.
She was also shy in high school. I wouldn't know what to do to wrestle a girl. I'd probably just lay over and let her beat me and get it over with.
I don't know. I would have probably forfeited as well. But I'm excited because I don't mind it. And now that I found out at Thanksgiving that my niece wants to wrestle at Iowa, she's excited about. Like now, the women's wrestling in Iowa is becoming big. They literally have a whole team in small town Iowa, where I'm from, of girls wrestlers for high school. Now they have to go a long ways to find meets, right? Because it's not everywhere in Iowa yet.
Right.
They have to go to all these other towns that have women's wrestling or girls wrestling, I should say.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool. I'm excited for it.
Well, that's good. How old is she's in high school?
No, she's in 8th grade.
Okay.
So she will be. She wrestled. They practice together. She wrestles with the high schoolers, like the junior high and high school. Junior high is 6th, 7th, and 8th. She's in 8th, but she gets to wrestle junior high girls. But they all wrestle together. I mean, it's pretty cool. I was shocked to find out how popular women's wrestling is, to be honest.
It's becoming more and more popular. By the way, the women's team is not official, but they are a team going to various tournaments and stuff.
I think that's what, like I was saying about my hometown, the same with the women's wrestling at Iowa. They just have to find places that wrestle women's, right? So it's going to be, they don't have a set schedule. They just do tournaments, people who put on tournaments. So
right, yeah, and that's cool that way. Iowa will be official. Women's wrestling will be official next year. It looks like Paul wants to wrap us up with a Sensi commercial.
No, I gotta go.
He's gotta go.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I did not know that.
That's what he was trying to tell us.
Oh,
he was being silent. See you, Paul.
See you.
All right. All right, cool. All right. Well, I was getting to the point where we're going to wrap it up anyway. You have anything else you wanted to add to it, or?
Nope, I'm ready for the women. Thursday night basketball.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
They play NC State.
NC State, right?
They play NC State, and they're ranked 12th in the country.
Okay, I mean, we're ranked 8th, right? 8th or 9th, aren't we?
The 10th.
10th, okay. All right, so, yeah. No, I think it's good. It's bothering me. Two things about the team this year that's kind of bothering me a little bit, but, I mean, they're winning, except for the one game that they lost by a point. Oh, no, I guess they lost to, not Creighton, but UConn, too, which was disappointing. After leading that game for quite most of the game, I think they led it most of the way and then lost it. But Caitlin Clark is getting her points, but it seems like she's throwing up double the amount of throws to get there because she's missing probably more than she's making.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but she did struggle in the beginning, but maybe now she'll start to pick it up, right? I think it could. She's a competitor. I think it's the competition. She played really well against Connecticut, really well. Number 14, can't remember her name. Dang it,
Warnock.
Yeah. If Warnock would have hit her threes, Iowa wins that game.
Right.
Like Warnock normally does. When she's wide open, she drains them.
Well, she was draining them all game long.
Not against UConn.
Who was the girl that was draining them against?
Kate Martin.
Kate Martin. Okay, I get them mixed up sometimes.
She was 6 for 6 from 3.
Dang, she should have fired more.
If Warnock would have hit hers, then I mean Iowa wins that game because they didn't even guard her a lot. She had wide open threes. I think she hit 2. She was like 2 of 9 or something like that from 3 because they were leaving her wide open.
Yeah.
But
it
no,
doesn't seem like
that's gonna be fun.
It doesn't seem like Monica Zano is getting her points like she did last year. It doesn't seem like, I mean, last year Caitlin made sure she got her assist by making sure that Monica got her points. But this year, when Monica does get the ball underneath, she seems to be soft rimming it. She's not finishing. She's not going to the rim and finishing it. Have you noticed that? She just gets it up there and it doesn't really do much and just kind of comes back down.
It has a lot to do with how she's being guarded, right? Mm-hmm. I think because they're banging on her. They're not letting her get anything. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Granted, against UConn, she missed quite a few easy bunnies that she won't miss against normal teams. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's nerves because it was UConn. I mean, it was exciting. Iowa was up by 11 with like 10 minutes of play. I mean, it was a great game. But I think maybe it has something to do with either nerves, even though they're seniors. It sounds silly. They've been starting to get her for 3 years now. There shouldn't be any nerves. But I think they're just off to a slow start, and it happens. I think when the lights come on and it gets real, they'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I guess this women's basketball talk must have bored Jared because he's gone.
Yeah, he didn't want any part of it.
He didn't want any part of it. All right. We should probably wrap this up. We've been well over an hour. And
Bye, Terry.
Bye, Terry.
Everybody pick up some Cincy by Terry.
Check it out. I got the website up. Go buy some Cincy from Terry. Tell her you're getting it from us so that she knows that her money was well spent. Okay?
Her sponsorship. Yeah.
Her sponsorship was well spent. All right, guys. We're out of here.
See ya.
Take care. Till next show.